Casino Royale is the first book in the original 007 series, the first out of 14 books written by Ian Fleming. And in this book, Bond himself has been called in just so he can pretty much infiltrate a casino, where the goal is to try to bankrupt the guy running the casino so that way they can pretty much leave him with nothing so they can make it easier to take him down. Who was working underneath the Soviet cell division known as SMERSH, which are like Hydra in the James Bond universe. Now, the positives is that if you're trying to get into the James Bond series, this book is definitely the first book that you should definitely start with, because not only does it have a good job at introducing the character of James Bond, but it also does a great job of breaking down his character down to the smallest detail. How he gets up in the morning, how he pretty much starts out his day, how he analyzes the situation, and how he pretty much profiles anybody that's in the room and how he'll use that to his advantage in order to get the mission done. And in this book, he plays more as a professional killer than that of a secret agent, and honestly, I think that's pretty hardcore. The downside is, take any image that you have of James Bond, from Sean Connery to Daniel Craig to Pierce Brosnan to even Roger Moore, take all of those versions and just throw it out. Or maybe just keep Daniel Craig's version a little bit. I mean, I think that's close enough to the book, because James Bond in the book is completely different from the characters in the movies, which obviously, instead of him being the suave, cool super spy guy, he's basically a cold, heartless assassin who pretty much cares about getting the mission done and doesn't care who gets in his way. Which you can make the argument that he's like that in the films, but in this one, he is just brutal. Like, the man has seen some shit and he just he's not having it today. And then one of the things that the book did that I never really understood was that it explained the rules of baccarat at first, to which yeah, if I'm somebody that wants to try and gamble in Las Vegas or some other casino, then yeah, that probably would be interesting to know, but I didn't really see the point of that. Only to later on explain how Bond was going to use his knowledge of the game in order to try to get on with the mission and to bankrupt the guy he's going after. It was a lot of stuff going on, but it wasn't enough to where it takes me away from what's going on. Like, character needs to do this to get to this, and then we get to point C, and then at Mazel Tov, everybody goes home. But if you're going into this with a lot of expectation for it to have a lot of action, because you know it's a book about James Bond and you probably grew up with the James Bond movies, I'm sorry to say there's not a lot of that here. It's just more espionage, and honestly, I think it works better with the book. Yeah, there's a couple of explosions and there's a couple of car chases and everything, but surprisingly, that's not the interesting thing about the book. The interesting thing about the book is basically the whole espionage thing. And then I also felt like the twist could have been a little bit better. I kind of saw it coming from a mile away, but it wasn't enough to take me out. It was still all right. But overall, Casino Royale is a pretty decent time. And honestly, if you're trying to get into James Bond, this is definitely the book to start. I'm probably going to read the rest of the books in the series, but yeah, that's all I got for this one. Just know the book is very dated and it's